I really like the trope of Kuuderes a lot in anime, and to keep it very much a stack, it's been honestly a trip if you really think about it. Cast your minds back to 8 years ago real quick. For me, that was the first time I ever watched High School DxD and got to see Booba in anime for the first time, and when it comes down to it, got to also see Konako. And when it comes down to it, ever since seeing her for the first time in the episode she appeared in, my heart was essentially set. It was absolute and completely set for Konako throughout whatever the heck might happen. And that's just kind of how it is. But I also fail to realize that besides Konako, there is also very much significant other Kuuderes characters that exist out there. And obviously, the first one to really start up the whole Kuuderes nonsense was Rei from Evangelion. But the thing is, I never cared for mecha shows, and I never really cared for, Rei to a high extent. I would collab. I think she's fine, but at the very same time, I didn't really resonate with her at all, so I don't really care to an extent. And then you get someone also like Yuki Nagato from Haru Suzumiya, and I promise you, if I seen Haru Suzumiya first and I had to put up with Haru's bum ass with her annoying ass tropes and things that she pulled in the show, if I saw Yuki first, I probably would have liked Yuki more than I did with Konako. In fact, if there wasn't really a Yuki Nagato, there wouldn't even be a Konako realistically. Cause hell, there was even a whole ass reference to her in DxD back in season 1 where Konako wore Yuki's whole outfit. So when it comes down to it, yeah, that's kinda like the set trail we have here. And as I was thinking like a few days ago, cause I wanted to do this topic before, I was really sitting here thinking, dang, there's like 2 sets of Kuuderes characters that, you have out there, but I enjoy one over the other. And it's basically simply defined by which character is sexy and which character is cute. At least that's to me, because if you look on the sexy side, you get people like Rei, you get people like 2V, and people like Nano from like 100 Girlfriends and such. But then when you look at the cute side, you get more like Yuki and Konako. And so that's the side I really want to focus on more, right? And even though, again, yes, Rei popularized and made Kuuderes to be what it is, I feel like Yuki set the standard to what certain Kuuderes can definitely be like, in my mind, of what I would like to see. And then Konako perfected that, because ever since then, there has been basically the same type of looking style of character, if with the same features, after her existence, or at least with both of them in existence. And that's kind of what I want to focus on today, because realistically, I wanted to make this whole video basically be like talking about characters that is like Konako or has her likeness, but it was so hard to kind of figure out how to go about it. But now I think I kind of got an idea. So what I want to do is look through a few set of characters that basically fit her features, and then I'm going to point out at the very end, what do I like about them? And there's 3 different tropes that they have that I really like about them that fits all together. But first of all, I want to basically go back in time and start out with a character that you probably haven't even heard of, or at least you haven't seen the show in a butt effing long time. And that's Julie from Absolute Duo. Absolute Duo is a show that you probably have never heard of. Have you heard of that show? I'll be surprised, because I didn't really know much about that show, and I was just kind of randomly watching different anime in high school at the time, because why not? It was a time to be alive. But when it comes down to it though, Julie is just like your standard Kuuderes, but except the only thing is she has like the power to kind of be on some demon time that can actually hurt you, right? Because obviously she has like a nice ass power that can beat some ass, but if not necessarily controlled properly, it can definitely be arranged to hurt you at the same time. And that's why, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I think that's why she never had like partners when it comes down to the show, of the context of the show, because of that whole, oh, it can backfire back on the person that's her partner and such. And we've seen that like tons of times in the show. And again, it's been a minute, but I definitely think I do remember that. And one of the things about Julie that obviously fits her is, again, the Kuuderes standpoint. Essentially, you just have her basically kind of not necessarily caring too much about what's going on, for the most part, doesn't necessarily open up easy, and all the typical Kuuderes things that you'll probably hear about for the rest of the characters on this essential list. But yeah, that's like one of the more, I would say, underrated ones I don't really see get talked about ever. Even though I really don't mind Julie. But granted, I don't really care for the show too much, but it was fine for what it was when I did watch it. So, you know, it is a 50-50. Then we got someone like Aaron from 7 Trinity, or Trinity 7. Why the hell I said that name backwards? But when it comes down to it though, she's basically in the same boat, except she's a bit more weirder, honestly, because she does have emotions, at least a different type of version of her. She did at one point, and there was some stuff that's going on. And to keep very much aside, I didn't finish watching Trinity 7. That probably is very sad of me to say out loud, but I didn't finish watching. That being said, I did like her, because I did like, oh, she's kind of like, you know, very chill with a lot of things, doesn't really care if you see her naked or anything like that. And honestly, she's more chill and more nonchalant than more of the Kuuderes that you kind of will see out there that exists within the cute factor of, you know, the Kuudere type of trope, essentially. And I do think she is kind of banging, like she is kind of fun. But that being said, she does have a lot of potential weirdness that I don't know of and I'm not aware of, because again, I didn't finish watching the show. But from what I did see in clips I did look up just for this video, essentially, yeah, I wouldn't mind having her around though. You know, I wouldn't mind that. And you know, she kind of is kind of peak. I'm not necessarily gonna lie. But then you get someone like Origami from Data Live. Now, I have seen season 1. I haven't seen anything past that though. But when it comes down to it though, Origami, oh hell yes, she was banging. She was about the demon time. She was literally out here dressing up as a damn dog, ready for her dates, much less at a hospital, ready for you to check the temperature, and many other different places. And this is the peakness of where you can see some damn Kuudere-ness. And the reason why, and I kind of cheat on this one a little bit. I feel like you kind of cheat when it comes down to this level of Kuudere, because she's a bit taller, she does have a slight bit bigger of a bust size, and that's kind of how that goes. But at the same time, she still fits the category, and I do think there's a cuteness factor within Origami personally. And to keep very much a stack, like she's just good in the show. She just really is. She brings pretty much the type of sauce I think Data Live needed. Because for the most part, everybody else is okay. Kurumi is great, but at the very same time, I don't think anybody was doing it like Origami was. Then there's Ataru from Kamikatsu, which we've already discussed on this channel before, and really her whole thing is essentially that she's technically some type of god, and essentially she ends up being mad strong. However, many people just continue to pray to her and all that type of stuff to protect them. And she's just really dang good. She definitely has a bit more emotions than other Kuudere characters, because yeah, mostly she is like that, but when it comes down to it, there is moments where you've seen her cry, and you have seen moments where she freaks out when something lewd is about to happen, and she doesn't keep her emotions in check more than most Kuudere characters. And there is definitely that line of where she kind of is a bit more expressive, where you kind of be like, oh, I don't know, she can fit that standard, but mostly she does, and I would consider her to do so, especially in the very beginning when you first seen her. And one thing that, again, I'll bring up because it really shook my brain when I saw this character, I felt the exact same way looking at Konako back in season 1 8 years ago, the same way I felt about Ataru when I first seen her. Because again, I was getting challenged, dude. I was challenged so damn hard, because I was like, bro, do I like Konako still, or do I like Ataru now? Like, I was that much confused, because I think both characters were dope, and I think both characters are cute, and both of them fit the same standard of what I like, right? If I was gonna say, oh, if there's a pick between, you know, most Kuuderes and ones that's very much, I would say, kind of fits the bill of what I want to see, Ataru pretty much would be like maybe second place pick. And I say maybe because after watching a few clips of Yuki Nagato's stuff in Haruhi Suzumiya before I started this whole video recording, I'm not necessarily gonna lie, I kind of vibe with her a lot more now. I kind of see where these two could be in for competition, and I would struggle a lot and my brain is gonna explode, but that's just me though. And the last one I want to bring up is Sage, essentially. I know she's not an anime character, but she fits the Kuudere bill too. Like, she basically has the standards, again, what I like to see, where she basically is having, like, yeah, the whole roboticized thing. And this is one other thing I want to kind of piece together real quick, is that when you have Kuudere characters, some of them come off as robotic. Some of them sound mad robotic. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really care for that aspect for those characters. Yes, you can have a character that's monotone, and that's what most Kuuderes are going to do and sound like, but one thing that I don't really like about most Kuuderes when it comes to their voice is easily the roboticization. Now, you're gonna have some that is gonna be like, you know, monotone and stuff like that. That's perfectly fine, and that's kind of how it fits the bill for most Kuuderes. But at the very same time, I don't really care for the robotic voice because a lot of the time they use it, it doesn't make sense. That's kind of the reason why I don't like Nano from 100 Girlfriends that much. And the same thing I could say for something like Kanade Tachibana from Angel Beats. I don't know much about it, but I've seen the character for the making of this video. And when it comes down to it though, they both speak robotically, or they feel like they do, and they're not robots, like, at all. And it doesn't make sense. Meanwhile, you get someone like Yuki Nagato and Sage and Ataru, maybe to an extent, that kind of fits the bill. Maybe less Ataru because, you know, after a while she doesn't feel that way, and honestly she just kind of gets rid of like the whole technology looking get up at some point in time. But more so on Yuki and Sage, because Yuki is a damn robot made from aliens that look like starfish people and whatever, that's supposed to keep track of like Haru Suzumi and all that weird stuff, or whatever the hell happens in that world. So it makes sense for her to sound like her damn robot when she's supposed to. And then when Sage, she's made by Eggman. She's literally a robot and all this cyber stuff. So once again, it makes sense, and it's a cute factor for it too, because again, makes sense for the character. But when it doesn't, it's like throws me off like really hard, and I don't really care for it as much. And that's just some of the Kuuderes I really like. For the most part, most Kuuderes are definitely having their own unique features and styles, like maybe Mei from Another because she's a bit different, even though she pretty much fits the bill of a Kuudere. But at the same time, you know, there's also factors about her that doesn't really fit the bill. Again, another show I haven't seen. Get it? Another show. But when it comes down to it, I do like her design, which is way crazy for me to say, even though she's like a doll chick, but you know, we can use that. We can just put her back together again. It's no problem. But my point is though, there is 3 factors of Kuudere that I really enjoy that you probably should be able to piece together now. One is that they all have powers. That's essentially one of the bigger things. I like them having powers, mainly because they become unsuspecting. That's why back in the day I called Koneko a unsuspecting lolly, because for the first time in my life I have never seen a lolly be that damn strong before. Yeah, I've seen characters be strong out of nowhere and stuff like that, but nothing to the level of what Koneko was, and that's why she captured my brain for like a long ass time. Right? And then same thing you could say for Yuki Nagato. I was not expecting her to be busted when I first researched Haru Suzumiya some time ago, but when I really looked into it, I was like, damn, she's this busted? She can fight? She made the whole world a simulation? What the hell is this nonsense? And immediately I was in the mood for some Yuki Nagato. Same thing with like, you know, Ataru with her godlike powers. And same thing you can say with Sage even with her cyber powers and stuff like that. So that's easily one of the bigger factors. Another factor that you could easily say that also is kind of a combination of everybody is that they all have like white hair to maybe like light blue hair, which again, I can't help but to feel like they're inspired from each other in a weird way, right? I feel like anytime you see a character that is like this and then have basically the white hair or the yellow eyes, it feels like they're both basically inspired by one another in some shape or form. And that may not be the case, but at the same time, I can't sit here and lie and be like, oh, Yuki might have came through and popularized the lollies to be a Kuudere, but I feel like Koneko has also put in the features that kind of set the standard for people to kind of care. Granted, even though I seen DXD like in 2017, DXD came out like a long time ago before that. So, you know, it wouldn't come as a giant surprise as, oh, maybe there was some inspiration from each other to be that way. So, again, it wouldn't come as a surprise. And the last factor I would say is that almost mostly everybody is lollies, which again sets a whole nother factor, because again, you got the sexy characters like 2B in them, but then you get the lolly characters like Yuki in them. And that's also like a whole nother factor to kind of add to it too. But overall, my whole point of this video is essentially I wanted to see and kind of just talk about Kuuderes characters again, but more so pointed towards Konoko's direction, and kind of see the evolution of these characters as they kind of go on, because again, yes, Rei started up, Yuki kind of came through and set the standard for, you know, the cuter side of it, and then Konako kind of came through, in my personal opinion, to perfect that, right? And arguably, I would also kind of just say, and this is not even just me just saying this, but in general, Konako might be like the more popular one, if not Yuki, because I've seen some polls and I've seen people say, oh, it's Origami from Data Live, but I can't read that. Like, for me, it feels not true, because it just one, it just doesn't, and two, maybe in a different country, maybe in Japan it is, but I see more DxD on a daily basis than I see Data Live personally, so I don't know. Maybe that's not a valid excuse, but at the same time, I just feel like, I don't know, DxD feels a bit more popular when it comes down to it. And then obviously you got people like Yuki as well, and I don't really see Yuki at all getting discussed and talked about, so that's a bit of a shame personally. So if anything, I feel like she definitely needs her props, because if you haven't seen the clip where she fought Ryoko or whatever in the damn show protecting that one dude, I'd say go watch it, because that was a badass clip, and that made me instantly like her just as much as I like Konako. So there it is, that for me. But overall, again, just really wanted to talk about this one because it's been on the brain for like 3 days now, and I've been wanting to talk about it because I think, again, Kuuderes are the superior characters of all the Dere types, even beating Yandere, which is crazy for me to say, but not really that crazy, because would I put Konako, you know, above everybody else? Pretty much so yes. And if I had to, I guess, rearrange the previous video where I talked about the top 7 best Kuuderes, I guess I'll put Konako, Yuki, and then Ataru. I guess that's just how that list would be. But anyway, that's essentially all I want to say for this one, so hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on the way out. Also follow my socials, and let's donate to the channel. Go find Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.